यहाँ से कर दो आप, तो बाकी
नहीं
वहाँ पे
ऑटोमेटिक स्ट्रीमिंग है ये, लाइव चले जाएंगे।
कोई नहीं दिक्कत, खुला तो है ना।
हाँ कोई नहीं।
अच्छा वो ऑटो स्ट्रीमिंग होगा।
Hi friends, a very pleasant good evening and welcome to Oliveboard. I hope all of you are doing really great. Just let me know if you can hear my voice, if I'm audible enough. Hi friends, a very pleasant good evening and welcome to Oliveboard. I hope all of you are doing really great. Can you hear me? Is everything working fine? Hi Arpan. Just a quick cue in the chat section would be appreciated if everything is working fine, if I'm audible. Good evening Pankaj, I hope you're doing good. Hi Ankit, good evening. I hope you're doing good and preparing well for your examination. So today is a very important session friends, wherein we'll be discussing in detail how can one score 55 plus out of 80 in your GA section of RBI Grade B 2023. Right, hi Suraj, hi. I hope you're doing good. We'll just wait for a minute or two, let everybody join in. Right, then we'll begin the session. See, it's very important for us to know why are we having this session today. The reason behind having this particular session is for us clearing RBI Grade B Phase 1 is very, very important, because only then you will be given a chance to go to Phase 2 and then obviously attend the interview. Right, so it makes a lot of importance for us to understand what is required in terms of our preparation. Right, give me a minute and then we'll quickly start the session. I'm just waiting for your other friends to join in so that we can begin the session in a minute or two. So just bear with me. Okay, I would appreciate if you could just, give me a thumbs up or something and we'll start the session in a minute. The others can join in later. Let's not invest more time in waiting. Right. Okay. So firstly, students, the thing is, we always keep thinking about how do we clear RBI Grade B, and one major concern that we have is how can we get good score in the GA section of RBI Grade B exam, right? So that's something which we really have to look into and understand what needs to be done for this particular section, right? So that's the entire strategy that we are going to be dealing with today. Fine. Okay. So without further ado, what is the agenda of the session that we have today, right? The first thing that we're going to deal with is the expected dates. Okay, we need to know what are going to be the dates of our examination. Okay, so that's something which is important. Now all of us are having a lot of anticipations and we are not very clear as to when is the exam going to be, but let me tell you, we are expecting the exam very soon. We are expecting the notification to be out in this month only, right? So we will have a quick look at the expected dates, then we will have a quick look at the pattern. We'll not spend much time here, don't worry about that. Okay, then we will understand the scheme of the examination, which is again of prime importance. The next and the very important part is going to be this part. Okay, how can one score 55 plus out of 80 when you talk about the GA section, right? After that, we'll quickly see the importance of the previous year papers. I'll just show you few examples which will help you understand. Okay, and then we have our study plan. The study plan is going to be very simple, but for you to understand the study plan, you need to know how can we score this 55 plus 80. So these two sections or these two agenda that we have in the listed items today are going to be interlinked. Okay, so now this is the expected dates that you can see on your screen. Okay, the first thing is today it is 16th of March, and let us assume that you're starting your GA preparation today, and the entire strategy is based on today's date. So don't worry, even if you're starting today, don't think that you can't cover the current affairs at a later stage. Okay, so here expected notification, let's take a date of say 25th of March. Okay, so once you say 25th of March expected notification, you can say, let us take 6th May 2023 to be our examination date. Okay, and let's take the second week of June, maybe somewhere between 11th of June to be our phase 2 examination date. Okay, so this session is going to be how do you prepare for your phase 1 GA. So we are going to concentrate only on this part, the first part that you can see. Fine. The next thing is we have approximately 7 weeks in our hands. So this is what we have, 7 weeks. Okay, and this is where we need to concentrate a lot. Let's see how do we divide these 7 weeks. So the study plan is going to look like this, right? When you have a look at the study plan on an overall basis, it looks very simple. Like it is written week 1, you need to cover Feb 2023. Then in week 2, you have to cover Feb and January 2023. But if you see here in the study plan, there are categories mentioned. Okay, category 1, category 2, category 3, and category 4. Now you will have to understand what are these categories, and once you understand these categories, it's going to be easier for you to score 55 plus. And that is the whole point of this particular session. What are we going to do? We're going to understand what are these categories and how do we strategize ourselves or our preparation to achieve the desired score. Right? Let me quickly check if there is something that you guys need to ask. Okay, so can you just give me a quick thumbs up in the chat section if everybody is there? It's going to help me to understand. Do I need to move forward now? Okay, I can see students joining in, so I might have to wait for a bit. Okay. Great, thank you Anjali, thank you Rajiv, thank you Aman, Suraj. It gives me confidence that you guys are there in the chat. Good evening guys. Nagendra, thank you so much. Okay, thank you Ankit, Kunal. Hi Pavan, hi. Okay, so let me resume where I left from, right? So understand one thing, that if you see the study plan out here, okay, which is quite visible, it talks about 4 categories, and in the coming section, I'm going to be talking about what are these 4 categories. Right? See, one major concern is how do we cover current affairs? What do we do? It is a section which is very tough, right? These are some of the comments that I hear from the students, and you're right. Okay, but there's a way to tackle this particular section. That is what you need to understand. Okay, once you get or crack that code, right, then you'll be able to feel that GA is the most doable section when you talk about RBI Grade B Phase 1 2023 examination, right? So that's what we're going to be dealing with. Now, if you see here, week 3, week 4, again, now I'll come back to the study plan. Don't worry about it. We'll revisit this tabular column, because even if I show this particular tabular column now, you'll not be able to infer anything, because we haven't spoken about category 1, category 2, 3 or 4. That is something we need to discuss in detail, okay, and we'll do that immediately after this particular section, okay. So this is how your week 5 and week 6 would look like. Don't worry, we will come back to this particular section here, okay. Let's see the pattern quickly. Fine. Very simple. Everybody has seen this pattern, okay, but just keep a few pointers in mind. GA section is something that we are dealing with, okay. Number of questions 80, number of marks 80. Now see this part, 25 minutes. you cannot move between the sections. Okay, you will have to complete the GA section in 25 minutes. Once that timer is done, once 25 minutes is done, you will have to move to the next section. You cannot come back to the GA section. Okay, and there have been cases if there are more number of questions which are statement based, or if they are lengthy, right, then there comes a problem wherein students leave the last 10-15 questions. Now don't worry about it, we'll talk about time management as well, right? Okay. Why is GA important, right? We need to understand this in the first place. Okay, look at this particular chart. If you have attended my strategy session, which I had taken, the 50-day study plan, okay, I am sure you would recognize this particular tabular column wherein I briefed you all that if you talk about phase 1, it is qualifying in nature. What you will have to do is, you will have to score well in GA plus one other section. Okay, so your key section would be GA plus one other section, right? And this one other section will be based on your strength. I highly recommend that this one other section should be either reasoning or English. Okay, quantitative aptitude, I would say ki this is something wherein, you know, there is so much of unpredictability in terms of the type of questions that they have been asking. Fine. So once this GA plus whatever section is fixed, these sections would help you clear the overall cutoff. Okay, and the other two sections you should be bothered about clearing only the sectional cutoff. That is how your scheme should be, scheme of examination or scheme of clearing the examination, right? So we are very clear about it. GA is going to be the common section for each and every aspirant who is wanting to clear RBI Grade B Phase 1 exam, right? Okay, let's move to the next part. Before you start, I would highly recommend, please have a look at the previous year papers. Why you should have a look at it is because you need to know the understanding of the topics plus the depth of the information. This is of prime importance. Understanding of the topic plus the depth of the information is required for us. Okay, I have seen there are many students who have studied a particular news article, but they weren't able to answer the question in the paper. The reason is the question was asked in depth and they studied that particular news piece on a very superficial level. So you need to know what is the depth at which you need to study, right? Okay, fine. Now comes very important part. And if you want to access it, we have it in our course, past year papers in the form of tests. It is freely available, so don't worry. Even if you're not part of our subscribed or subscription, then you can go and have a look at it. Okay, it's open for all. Fine. Now we start understanding the categories. We start our detailed study plan. Okay. The first thing is coverage, right? Give me a quick thumbs up in the chat section, because right now I want everybody to pay attention here. We will be seeing these 3 important points. Plus, we will categorize the GA preparation into different sections. Okay, we will know from where what needs to be studied. So, a quick thumbs up in the chat section. I want high energy. I want everybody to concentrate, because this section is tricky, right? And we cannot keep giving attempts one after the other and just keep saying that GA section is not for us or we are not comfortable in GA. That is not how things work, right? If you're not comfortable in GA, let us find out the way to get comfortable in GA, right? I hope all of you are paying attention. A quick thumbs up in the chat section would be really appreciable. Okay, I can see Anjali, Aman. Okay, Ankit, thank you for a quick thumbs up there. Okay, so few of you are active from the very beginning, and that's a good part here. Okay, thank you, Sai Rama. Fine, thank you, Innocent. That's I think a repeat user. Thank you so much. Okay, fine. Coverage part. Firstly, 80% of your questions are going to be from Jan, Feb, March and April. The last 3-4 months are going to be of prime importance. Now, we are assuming the exam is going to be in May. Okay, so our last 4 months would be Jan, Feb, March, April. And May also we are taking it to be somewhere between in the first week. So that's why we are not studying May, and we'll stop around 21st or 22nd April, our preparation, right? And the other 20% of the questions, right, would be from November and December. Now the question arises, should I do November or December? Okay, the answer to this is, have you completed Jan, Feb, March and April properly? Are you confident with these 4 months? Okay, now if you are confident with these 4 months, please go ahead and complete November and December. Now here there's one other point, do December first and then come back to November. Okay, so anybody who's not at all confident with these 4 months, then don't go and spend your time in December or November. Okay, understand? Even when we are talking about a good score, let us take 55 plus, okay? Let me push it further. The paper is a little easier. Let me say, let's talk about 60, okay? For example here, though we are saying 55 plus in the agenda, what happens is, you don't have to score 80 on 80, right? If I say you will get 60, you still have a chance of leaving 20 questions. So when you're going through all the questions, you can miss 20 questions. You don't know 20 questions, that's fine. Right? So that is how your mind should work. That is how you need to strategize your preparation. Okay, so this part should be clear. Now no doubts here. Should we read? Should we not read? Answer is simple. You're thorough in these 4 months, go ahead, read December first, then move to November. Okay, you're not thorough with this, don't spend more time here. First, be thorough with these 4 months. Okay, our aim is to get through phase 1 so that we get a chance to attempt phase 2, then move on to interview. Right? Clear on the first point, which is the coverage point. Okay, now let's move on to the second point, which is very important. Okay. What happens is, I have seen many students who say, let's do one thing, let's prepare for phase 1 right now and let's prepare for phase 2 separately, like after phase 1, or maybe give only a few days for phase 2. Let me tell you, when we move forward, we'll be seeing the categories, right? There is a major portion from where the questions are asked in phase 1 and that portion belongs to phase 2. So your preparation ideally is going to be simultaneous for phase 1 and phase 2. Okay, very important point. Students usually miss this point. Because why do we miss this point? We don't know the kind of questions that are asked in the paper. That is where we are lagging. Okay, so when I show you the categories, I want you to understand the categories and why are we saying prepare phase 1 and phase 2 together. I'll show you the example of the questions that were asked in 2022 and then you will be able to relate. Okay, so fair enough till now. We are confident about the coverage part, which is usually a concern among the students, right? The second part, simultaneous preparation. Okay, should I prepare only for phase 2? Should I prepare only for phase 1? Should I combine both? The answer is combine both, but we will see how to work our way around that. Okay, the third part is static GK and current affairs. Okay, see what happens is, out of 80 questions, there is a division. I'll show you the categories in a minute. So out of these 80 questions, there is a category which you call current affairs and the other category is static GK. Now when I say static GK, it means that, it is something which does not change year on year, right? Now if I ask you a particular day, important days, right? Now that does not change every year, the theme changes every year. Do you get my point? So if I just take, say, 8th of March, okay, now if I say it's Women's Day, International Women's Day, right? Now this is not going to change. Every year it is going to be on 8th of March, right? But the theme keeps changing. So your 8th of March, which is something going to be the same every year, is put into a bucket which is called static GK, and the other part, the theme, which keeps changing every year, is something you would call current affairs. Okay, now why are we having this segregation? Just to understand how to study. There is no clear-cut demarcation as such, but we need to understand what to study, from where to study, and that is the reason you should know this. Okay, fine. Now let's move on. Now we are entering into the important section for which all of you are there in this session today. But before that, we have prepped ourselves. Okay, let me do a quick recap. What are the things that we saw? The first thing, we saw the timeline. Okay, we understood when are we expecting the examination to be. Based on that, we realize we have 7 weeks in our hands. Okay. The second thing, we saw the pattern, which everybody knows, but what did we observe? We observed that there is sectional timing as well, right? So the speed also matters, plus it's not necessary for us to score full marks there. When we say we are aiming 55 or even 60, we still can leave 20 questions. There is a possibility we don't know 20 questions, so that's fine, right? We moved on from there and we quickly had a look at the study plan, but you will not be able to understand the study plan unless and until we discuss the categories here, right? And lastly, we saw the coverage point, which is again a very important concern among these students. And the second point that we saw is simultaneous preparation is needed, right? And lastly, we did understand there is something called static GK and there is something called current affairs, right? Now let's move forward. Again, a quick thumbs up in the chat section, guys. I want all of you to make, give me that confidence that you're listening to me. You know what are we going to learn in the next particular section, right? We're going to have a look at the categories. A quick thumbs up, please, in the chat section. Thank you, Anjali. Thank you, Suraj out there. The only thing is I want this session to be interactive, wherein you guys are listening. You know what I'm putting forth. Sure, Ankit, I'll take your suggestion. We will come out a video as to how to prepare for phase 2 also simultaneously. Don't worry. Okay, thank you, Tanya. Thank you. Okay. Prabhuda. Okay. Let me begin now. Okay. So this particular tabular column that you see here is of the prime importance, or anybody who's asking how do we score 55 plus should understand this scheme of things here. Okay, everybody just take a minute or half a minute or so, just understand, just have a look at it, then I'll explain it to you. Okay, have a look at it quickly, then I'll explain each and every section that we are referring, category that we are referring. This is total marks which is expected out of each category, right? This is the target marks that we are expecting or the students should try to get from each category. And the last part is how much effort do you need to put in. Okay, fair enough. Let's start. See, category 1 that you see here is static GK. Okay, I'll also show the next part wherein we have written the example, so don't worry if you think it is not very clear to you yet. Okay, from this particular section we are expecting around 12 to 15 marks. Okay, and I want you guys to aim 8 to 9 from this particular section. Okay, and you need to put in 15% of your total time to study this particular section. Now you might ask me what is there in this particular section. Don't worry, we will have a look at it. I'll show you previous years also that questions that fall under this category. Okay, the next thing is category 2, Union Budget Economic Survey. Keeping it very simple, this is the smallest category here. I haven't included other things here because let's be very crisp here. I don't want us to beat around the bush, okay, do things which are uneasy. Just see this category here, Union Budget Economic Survey. What is expected? 4 to 5 questions only. But these 4 to 5 questions make a lot of difference. You also know it. We have seen, obviously, there are students who miss the cutoff by a single mark or even less than 1 mark. Right? So you can't say that it is only 4 to 5 and do we need to give importance to it. Right? Makes sense. Category 3. Now this category is something I want you to see. What have I written here? Phase 2 related questions. That is where simultaneous preparation is needed. In phase 1, we are expecting around 30-35. Okay. See, each year, obviously, the share changes. This metric would change. I'll show you the metric which was there in the year 2022, both shift 1 and shift 2, right? But let us keep an adjustment here, right? There is a possibility we might have say plus 2 or 3 here, okay, or plus 2 or 3 here, but this is an average kind of a situation. Fine. So this 30 to 35 marks that we are dealing with, okay, is phase 2 related questions. So when you are studying current affairs, keeping the focus on both phase 1 and phase 2, this is what you get. You will be able to answer at least 25 to 27 questions straight on, right? And automatically you will be preparing for your ESI and FM paper. I'll show you the type of questions here, okay? So don't worry, we have at least 3 examples under each category. So for you to make more sense out of this particular categorization, right? Okay. The next part is category 4, which is phase 1 related questions. When I say phase 1 related questions, these are the kind of questions which are expected only in phase 1, okay? A very good example is maybe say who won this particular trophy. Okay, nobody will ask this question in ESI paper, phase 2. It's very simple, right? So the one-liner kind of questions, right? These kind of questions are only phase 1 related. We don't have to study those questions for phase 2. So for these kind of questions, you can again expect 30 to 35. Now, why have we kept these two as the same number is because there's a high possibility that if they want to make the paper tough, they can increase this section, the weightage of this section. Okay, that means phase 2 related questions. If they want to keep the paper moderate, then they will increase this slightly and decrease this slightly. So right now the ideal situation that we are going to be eyeing for is let's keep it same so that we know how to put in efforts here. Make sense? Okay. The other thing here is again aim for the same kind of marks from both these sections. Again, this is a bracket that I have given. I am not putting absolute numbers here. Fine. Now see this last part. This is where you will have to do. What you will have to do, how much you will have to do, okay? So this particular section, category 3 and category 4, you need to pay attention here. 40% of your efforts and time needs to go here, right? 15% of your time needs to go there, the first category, static GK, fine? And 5% of your effort and time goes into union budget and economic survey, okay? Don't worry, I know you might have understood the categories, but we need a little more clarity. We will get in depth here, but tell me, are you comfortable with this particular tabular column? Are you guys with me? Are you able to understand what we are trying to put a break here in terms of say 4 categories, how many marks expected, how much you need to target from these sections, how much effort in terms of time you need to invest, right? Okay, I see a few yeses, guys. I want all of your yeses pouring in the chat section, because unless and until you understand this, I'm not going to proceed further. This is the key. Understand this, only then we'll be able to proceed further. Okay, for one of the users, it is not visible. Can you just please increase the resolution of your screen? Yeah, okay, I see a couple of yeses dropping in. Maybe 3-4 more would do the job for me. I want all of you to be confident with this tabular column. Okay? Great. Let's move forward now without any further ado. So this is 2022 paper split, okay? We saw this one which we are framing what needs to be done. Now this particular tabular column that you see is based on the last year paper which is actually held. Okay, we have the memory based questions, right? So if we do the analysis, shift 1 and shift 2, see the weightage here. Okay, static GK category that we were talking about, we saw 14 marks coming from this in shift 1, 19 coming from this in shift 2. Okay, category 2, 3 marks in shift 1, 4 marks in shift 2. Fine. The category 3, phase 2 related questions which I was talking about, you can see there was a dip here, 27, 24. Okay. Here category 4, phase 1 related questions, 36 and 33. Right, now do you at least understand that we have seen the previous year and those questions can be categorized into these areas, and we do have numbers here based on the previous year paper. Okay, now again we cannot stick exactly based on what they asked previously, right? They do keep changing. They can increase the level of the paper, they can decrease the level of the paper. So let me tell you, if they increase the difficulty level of the paper, this particular thing will go up. Okay, and if they want to keep it very simple, if they want to include one-liners, then this will go up. Right, but there's always a limit to which it can go up. It's not that they can skew the paper completely in one category. That's not going to be the case. But yes, this is an indicator of whether the paper is going to be easy or tough. Right? Okay. We will take 2 minutes for each category. Understand the category properly. Okay? Static GK. There are 2 parts to static GK from where the questions are usually asked. Fine, there is part 1 and there is part 2. Take a minute, have a look at it. Don't worry, don't get overwhelmed with whatever I've written. It's just that I wanted to be a little comprehensive with the explanation, and that is why I have put things here like this. Okay, don't worry about things being too much here. Fine, okay. Part 1 that we are talking about, this is, say, the entire static GK can be divided into 2 parts. Okay, the first part is banking and finance related topics. Okay, the second part is static questions which are linked to current affairs. I'll show you, these are the static questions linked to current affairs. Okay, when I say static questions linked to current affairs, okay, let me take an example here. For example, if they are talking about a sport which was in news, right, and related to that, if they are asking a static question, then that comes under static GK. They're not testing you on current affairs, but because that news was there, okay, they are testing you on the static part of that particular news. Right, usually they do that only. You don't have, that is where you need to work smartly. So whenever you're covering a particular news piece, for example, there is, say, a headline there, always know the basics of that. You need to know the currency of a particular country which is in news for some or the other reason. Okay, there is an important summit being held in a particular country, right, and there are some dignitaries going for a summit in a particular nation. So all these things, right, when you're reading that particular current affairs, make sure you know the basics of it as well, the static part as well. And don't worry, in the Bolt magazine that we provide every month, okay, for each month we have a separate RBI Bolt, not the usual Oliveboard Bolt that we have. Oliveboard also has RBI Bolt that is specific to RBI phase 1, right? So in that, each news article has a static coverage. So you can answer everything if you study this particular piece, or even if you're doing self-study, what I would recommend is whenever you're reading these kind of news pieces, please make sure you're reading the static part of it. Okay, for example, if there are any sports events which are being held in a particular stadium, right, so there's a theme to it. That theme comes under current affairs, but the stadium where it is located, that becomes your static GK. Right, so don't limit yourself by just studying, okay, this is kind of a sports event, it was held here and I'm done. No, It was held in a particular stadium. If you're naming that stadium, where is that stadium located? I'm just giving you very random examples just to make you understand why we need to go to the static part of a particular news piece. Right? So there are two parts here. One is banking and finance related topics, which you can see here. NBFC, small finance, right? Payment bank, lead bank. There is letter of credits, there's types of banks. I would say RRBs, there was a very good question that they are very simple one though, right? But they did ask. Priority sector lending, we have questions on this, right? There is P notes, participatory notes that we have questions. Types of ATMs, this is also something which is a good topic that they pick up on, right? So all these things fall under banking and finance related topics. Fine. You can, if you're doing self-study, I would say you can make a list of it. And if you are a part of a course, obviously we are going to have a separate module which would explain all these things in a detailed manner so that you can cover this part. Okay. And also there is a live batch which is going on right now. Okay. In that we have sessions covering the top topics here, banking and finance related topics. In case you have already taken our subscription and you don't know about it, please go and check that. I don't want you to miss it, right? It's a part of the live batch. Okay, fine. Let's move forward. Now, static GK, let's take examples. Okay, you might not understand unless and until we see the previous year papers. Okay, see this question. This question, yes, this is what I was talking about. They've asked a question on regional rural banks, ownership structure. This question comes under static GK. This question comes under banking and finance related part that I was talking about. Part 1 comes in phase 1, right? You know the concept, you'll be able to quickly answer this question. See the next question. Who is the author of the book My Life, My Country? Okay, the author is not going to change. This was in the news. Easily you can just pick this question from here. Okay, the next thing. Under which of the following conditions does the DICGC give money to the liquidator? Now this particular piece comes under banking and finance related topics, static GK. Do those topics, these questions are going to be easy for you because you know the concept, you can definitely eliminate and just choose the answer. See friends, one thing is, please don't be frightened while studying current affairs or GA section. This section is there to help you only. It's very easy because it's not a descriptive part. If you revise, even if you forget, you'll be able to recall seeing the options. Make it your strength. It is really doable, but just understand what needs to be done. Don't keep studying in the wrong direction and please don't keep wasting year after year. Right? Okay, so this is how this particular section goes. Fine. As I told, yeah, ATMs, types of ATMs, famous question. Okay, so this was asked in 21 actually. Automated teller machines set up, owned and operated by non-bank entities are called as what? Right? So this is again banking and finance related question here. Okay. Ranthambore National Park is situated where? Static GK question. Okay, but it falls in the part 2. Now, Union Budget Economic Survey self-explanatory category, but I have chosen some questions for you to understand. In the year 2022, that is last year, this was an example of a question taken from Union Budget. Fact-based, data point. You will have to memorize so many points. Many facts need to be memorized. That's how the thing is. Right? So most of us are very scared about memorizing the facts, right? But that's how it works. We need to clear the prelims exam of RBI Grade B, guys. I have counseled many students in the super mentor session that I take as part of mentorship program, and I do realize that students have worked really hard, right? You have given 3 attempts, 4 attempts. I really want you to crack the examination because you're giving your efforts, but please give it in the right direction. Okay? The next thing is, there was a question based on allocation and the percentage, etc. Very simple. Okay, I think if you guys just put in a little effort, I don't think you will miss out on these questions. Don't miss out on the obvious questions. That is a mistake. What everybody is doing right, if you do it wrong, obviously your chances would go down. Right? We cannot go wrong in a place where things are easy for us. The next thing is phase 2 related questions. Here we come, wherein our understanding of preparing simultaneously for phase 1 and phase 2 comes into play, right? As I told you, it is important for us to focus on both these areas, okay, phase 1 and phase 2, because the topics that we're dealing with is, for example, government schemes. You'll get questions in both ESI and finance management paper of phase 2 as well as your phase 1 GA. This is the third category that I was talking about. Okay, so when you're reading a particular news piece, it's probably the case that it will be helpful for both phase 1 and phase 2, right? We have reports and indices, very important. They usually are asked in both phase 1 and phase 2, okay? The next thing is finance news. High chances of this being asked in the finance and management paper plus your phase 1 GA section, okay? ESI related chapters which are there as part of your syllabus, if you see anything related to that in terms of current affairs, there are high chances that will be asked in phase 1 as well as phase 2. That is why simultaneous preparation. These are some of the specific chapters, right? You can see here, you can have chapters like health. If there is any report released in this particular segment, obviously there's going to be a question asked in phase 1 and phase 2, right? There is a segment called education, right? If there's an education policy, what happens? You see a question in phase 1, you can see a question in phase 2, right? Measurement of growth, all GDP related questions that you study, the projections that are made, right? Poverty alleviation, employment generation, there is a report on poverty, for example, right? The extent of poverty, there's a report on, say, unemployment or employment chances, any percentages, labor force related questions can be asked, right? So where does these things fit in the phase 2 related topics? So this is where the students get confused. This is where you need to understand the syllabus, okay? See here, sustainable development and environmental issues. Okay, easy, they'll ask you in phase 1 also. Definitely they'll ask you, if you check, there are going to be questions from sustainable development topic for sure in phase 1. The same thing if you see, they will ask you in phase 2. Okay, things can be different. They can be, say, 1 step ahead in phase 2 or 2 steps ahead in phase 2 for that matter. But you will have to study this in a combined manner, okay? Because there are chances of them asking statement based questions even in phase 1. We have seen that trend, okay? See, the first thing possibility is simple one-liner questions. That used to be the case, okay? The second possibility is the entire paper is filled with, say, lengthy questions, statement based questions. Choose between statements A and B, or say A, B, C, only A, right? Or paragraph based questions. They started asking this in phase 1 GA also. So the third possibility is a very good mix in the paper. You have one-liner questions as well. You have, statement-based questions as well. So it's kind of a mix of both, right? So we need to be ready for any kind of situation, because we are studying in that direction only. If you follow this plan, if you understand what I'm trying to say here, you will be able to move in that direction, that even if they tilt the paper towards higher difficulty level with giving you all the questions being statement based or lengthy questions, I would say, you'll still be able to answer. Cutoff is going to be less, right? Because if the paper is, of the high difficulty level, then don't worry. Then our aim is not going to be 55 plus. Understand that also. I'll just take you to a last section which is called sectional cutoff. There we will quickly have a look at that piece also. Okay. So here it's very simple. Now demographic trends are there. Do census also. Do SECC as well. You have regional economic cooperation, international economic institutions. Sometimes they give you simple questions like headquarters also. And trust me, sometime you're reading so much that you forget the headquarter only. So you need to calm down, understand what is required. Fine, you have gender issues. There is some kind of a scheme which is released, so it's interlinked here and here. many interlinking, okay? They can ask you a simple concept-based question, say related to fiscal deficit, or a fact-based question related to fiscal deficit. You're reading that for both phase 2 and phase 1, right? So this is how you need to prepare, okay? We'll also see a few other tips, don't worry. See the examples here, okay? Phase 2 related questions, beam stack was formed in which of the following years? Now tell me, you keep reading so much, there are high chances that you actually don't memorize this. So when you read this chapter with a little bit of patience, it's going to help you to clear phase 1 questions as well as phase 2 questions. Okay? The next thing, see this question here out here. This is phase 1 question. Now initially in the previous years, maybe say the starting point, I would say remove 21 and 22, 2019 or 2018, let's go back to that. So that time you would not expect this kind of question to be there in the GA section. Anybody who's seeing this would out and out say, this is phase 2 question. That's not the case. This was asked in phase 1 only. So remember my point. Phase 1 and phase 2 preparation together. Why are we emphasizing this? You need to study in depth for a certain areas so that you can answer these kind of questions. I'm not saying that the entire paper is going to be based on this particular schema of question, but there are going to be questions like this also. Fine. So it's a scheme based question, and they have given 3 statements, and then you will have to choose this. Now tell me, if you're not very sure, how will you choose the answer for this particular question? Okay, so that's where things change. What is the full form of UNCED, Sustainable Development? Simple. You're going to be reading important organizations under Sustainable Development chapter for sure. It's there in the notes. You'll definitely read this, the full form of UNCED, right? So it's going to be there in your paper. Fair enough? Okay. What is the female sex ratio in urban and rural part of the India as per the National Family Health Survey 5? What did I tell you? That when we were having a look at the chapters, there is a chapter called health, there is a chapter called education. Whenever there is any report which is released which is related to these segments, they can ask you points from that report, fact based only, nothing doing, nothing big there. Now anybody, if you see this, you will say, okay, it's a one-liner question. But what if you haven't studied that report? Right? That's where you need to concentrate. You need to study based on the topics as well. That is where segregation becomes very important. Okay? Read the following statements and mark the correct one. This is where I was talking about concept related questions from phase 2. From phase 2. Concept based questions. They're not testing you on any factual information here, but you need to know what is bond price, what is yield. It is a very simple concept, let me tell you that. It's not something which is very hi-fi or something that comes later when you're studying finance. It just comes at the start, at the very beginning. Few basic chapters you need to study. And if you are not studying those chapters, then I don't think you're preparing. Right? So I'm being very blunt here. Few basic chapters should have been done. If you haven't done that, don't worry, we have these banking and finance related terms. If you cover that, that will do the needful. Okay? But I'm just trying to make a point that don't segregate things. When you're studying, understand it's going to be helpful for phase 1 as well. Right? For things which are exclusive to phase 1, you have RBI bold. Don't worry about it. Okay? India will double. Okay, there's one other question. You can have a look at it. I'll not be reading this question again. But it was taken from NEP. Okay, so it's again a policy based on one of the segments that we were dealing with, right? Phase 1 related questions. Last category. We have seen static GK, right? We have seen union budget and economic survey category, right? We have seen phase 2 related questions. Now last category is phase 1 related questions. Remember, phase 1 and phase 2 related questions, we don't know how the weightage would be. It depends upon how the difficulty level needs to be set. So now our concentration should be there for both. Okay? These are one-liners, mostly one-liners. hard to attempt because hard to answer correctly because there's so much to remember. So what we will do is, I'll tell you few tricks here, but just understand the areas first. Take a screenshot, guys, if you feel you need to refer to this afterwards. Okay, it can be agreements, it can be meetings, specifically sports, because this is nowhere asked in phase 2. Okay, you have important days. Banking and finance is not related to the static one that we were talking about. Okay, that's static there. Awards are there. Okay, any mergers and acquisition. Person and news is something which is very famous out here. Obituary, books and authors. Okay, any film festivals, Oscars. Definitely we'll see a question from the Oscars, right? We know why. So we are really proud of that as well. Okay, so which country will host the World Environment Day to be celebrated on 5th June? Very simple question. One-liner question. Don't worry, it's covered in the bold. Okay, you don't have to worry about it as such. Okay, but I'll also tell you a trick. If you feel it's very overwhelming, we can do something out here. But let me first give you a sneak peek into the type of questions. Which of the following cities has been selected as a book capital of the world? Very simple. How many days of events were organized under the Azadi Se Antyodaya Tak campaign? Okay, very fact-based, very factual, I would say. In Pro Kabaddi League, Dabang Delhi defeated. Again, sports-related question. You will not get such questions in phase 2. Okay, so this is where we need to understand. And let me cater to a very important question which most of you might have. I can't store so much of information. Makes sense, right? Let's rewind whatever we have studied, we have just discussed in this session today. The first thing we saw was coverage, right? We know it's 4 months, very prime importance. And when I say 4 months, there's one other point, start from the latest month. Start from Feb, move towards Jan, okay, then come back to March, April, do that way, okay? Fine, just that one point here. So what you can do is, you can pick your favorite topics from this, make a category list for yourself from this particular last one that you see here. Okay, let me give you an example. If you're someone who's comfortable in studying sports, okay, write it down here. Okay, first one, I'm comfortable in studying sports. Things are easily registered. Okay, now let me say I usually get excited when I hear about awards. Okay, I'm just giving random examples here. You guys might be totally having a different interest here. So let me pick awards here. Okay, now when I pick awards here, this is something which interests me, so I'll do it. Okay, I'll be able to remember this as well. Now I'll just pick 5. Okay, so tell me one category, guys. I think I haven't interacted with you in the last few minutes. Okay, give me a quick link, not link, sorry. Give me a quick shout out in the chat. What would you prefer from these subcategories that are listed here? I need at least 2 to 3 of you to just type in something, some category for me to just note down here. Which is easy one for you? Okay, so I can see people in the live session, so are you guys not listening? Okay, thank God somebody just wrote something there. Okay, thank you, Anjali. Meeting, summit, okay, defense, appointments, banking and finance. Okay, there's banking and finance. I'm happy about that piece. Okay, great. Guys, you'll have to interact with me. That's really important. Let me see if you guys are in sync with what we are dealing with here. Okay, let me take meeting and summit. Meeting is going to be definitely there because that was the first response here. Let me take banking and finance. That interests me too. Okay, so let me take meetings. Okay, let me take banking and finance. Pardon me for the handwriting. Okay. Okay, and what else here? Appointments, let me take appointments. Okay. Okay, guys, so we have these 5 categories, right? Now what I will do is, or now what you should do is, firstly, finish off these 5 categories for all the 4 months that I mentioned. Finish these categories. Is it not possible? It is possible. right? These are your favorite categories. These 5 categories are your favorites. You have listed them. Now there is no, you cannot say ki I'm feeling bored. Why are you feeling bored? These are something that it interests you. Fine. So there's no excuse that you can give while reading these things. At least you'll have 3 interesting things, if not 5, right? Pick that category, complete it for a month. Move on to the next month, complete it. Okay, you can juggle. Either you can pick a category, complete it for a month, all the 5 categories, sorry, and then move on to the next month, or complete one category for all the months. Right? Now tell me, when you start doing this way, it's really going to help you because you're processing information in a categorized manner. You're reading sports news first, for example. Now you know you're registering it properly in your head. See, that is where, the trick comes in. What needs to be done? Practice is the key, revision is the key, and categorization in your head is another key. Without revision, definitely nothing would work. Without practice, it would not work. But the third part, without categorizing it in your head also, you would lose the interest, as well as you would definitely go wrong with many questions. Accuracy would go down. Okay? So this is how you guys need to, have an effective preparation. I want you guys to concentrate, okay? Do this exercise for yourself. It is doable, right? Don't say there are so many things I'm not able to do. Those are excuses, friends. Honestly, those are excuses. This is doable. Okay? Fine. The last part, and quickly I'll wrap it up in 2-3 minutes. I know I have taken a lot of time here today. Cutoffs. We are not interested in sectional cutoff. Tell me, why aren't we interested? The reason is, we are not even aiming to clear only the sectional cutoff in GA. If you are doing that, we are not even aiming for RBI Grade B Phase 1. Right? We know GA section for sure is the key. Along with GA section, we are eyeing for one section, most probably between English and reasoning, to give us that cushion to clear the Phase 1 examination. Right? So what are we doing? We are focusing to get more marks in GA, very good marks in GA. So why we shouldn't be bothered about the sectional cutoff at all. But still, having said that, I want you guys to know that obviously the sectional cutoff last time was 12. This is for the general category. Okay, now see the cutoff. The reason why I am showing this cutoffs is, see the total marks here, 63.75. Now, the question is, if it is 63.75 overall, if you ask me, can I score 55 plus in GA? Answer is no. No way. I'm telling you that's not going to be possible. The cutoff is low because the paper was of high difficulty level. When the paper is of high difficulty level, all the sections will see that difficulty levels rise. Right? So what happens is, it is not possible for you to say I'll score 55 plus, or I can. Obviously we'll try for it, we'll aim for it, but practically speaking, if the paper was that easy, this would have been up. We have seen this in the previous years or not. We have seen that, right? It's shot up to 120s also. Okay, so that time you need to tweak your strategy. That time it is not going to be 55, it's going to be somewhere, say, out of 60, at least aim for, say, 30 and get the remaining from the other 3 sections. Right? So that 30 will come from where? It will come from 4 categories. You have 4 or 5 questions from Union Budget Economic Survey, that will become 2. Right? If you are aiming for phase 2 related questions 25, that will be half. Okay, that will be somewhere between, say, 12 questions, correct? Right? So that is how it will go back and forth. You need to be smart enough for that. Same thing here. Okay, this is, I think, of 2021. 66.75, more or less on similar lines, but the minimum marks was 16. Again, I don't want you to be bothered with this minimum marks at all. We are not bothered about the minimum cutoff. That's not our aim. Right? If you are aiming for that, there's some issue. You're not able to understand. Okay? A quick look at the cutoff in the previous years. Okay? We did see a very big rise if you have a look at it. 2019, 122. Highest so far. Why 122? Difficulty level of the paper was, it was easy. Paper was easy. GA here you can score. In fact, you need to aim more, around in 60s or nearing to 60s. That's how you need to change your strategy. This is again sectional cutoff. I don't want you to see this at all. No worries, we don't need it. We need to score good marks here. We need to see this chart only for these 3 sections. If you have seen my strategy session, if you haven't seen, it's a kind request, please go and have a look at the 50-day detailed study plan that I had discussed. It will tell you why this is important. Okay? How will Oliveboard help you? Okay, we do have a specific current affairs tab here in the course. So don't worry, all your needs will be taken care of in terms of your study material. Okay, so if you click on this current affairs tab, you have everything listed. You have monthly capsules which are for phase 2, and now since we know that there are going to be phase 2 related questions in phase 1 as well, so this is for phase 2 plus phase 1. Okay, you have RBI notifications. One important point which I have missed, RBI notifications, if you have time, do it, cover it from Jan to April. Okay, if you don't have time, only then skip it. Okay, for phase 1, but keep it as a last thing to do. Right, makes sense. We also have covered RBI FAQs which are important. Okay, specifically for phase 2 they're important. We have government schemes that are covered. Okay, and there are also other reports that are there. As I told you, union budget is important, economic survey, important reports from where phase 2 based questions are going to be asked. And in phase 1 also you have, phase 2 also you have. These monthly capsules are divided into categories. Okay, as I told you, if you remember, practice is the key, revision is the key, categorization of news pieces is a key. Okay, you will have to know how to categorize it, under which head it falls for you to remember those things. So it is categorized into these things, like every month what are the schemes in news or state news, what are the reports and indices, important reports that are released. Okay, what are the finance related news in the month of January. Okay, it's covered bi-monthly, so don't worry, it's easy to cover. We also have Bolt magazine. Okay, so you can refer RBI Bolt, which is a downloadable magazine, and it's uploaded till Feb, right, which is done today. So yeah, this is specific for phase 1, guys, right? So if you have to study for phase 1, as I told you, the phase 1 related questions, and this is what you need to refer to. This is RBI Bolt, it is specific to RBI. And we also have live batches, right? The government scheme is being covered through a live batch, wherein there's a lot of MCQs happening and each ministry is being studied in detail. The live batch which I told you, okay, it has banking and finance related classes, banking and finance part 1, part 2, part 3, 4 and 5. And the government schemes we are doing ministry wise with Q&A sessions after 2 to 3 ministry wise discussions. Okay, so first you will have a discussion on Ministry of Education related important schemes, and then you will have a quick Q&A. Okay, then you will have again other ministry coming in. You can see here. Okay, obviously I've taken a screenshot so I cannot scroll. So as part of a course, we do have a learn pack. We do have a complete plan which has all these things that I was talking about, and we also are running mentorship batch. If you are one of those who has joined, then I'll be your super mentor and there's going to be one other mentor, right? So the initial guidance will be given by me and then you'll be tagged with a mentor from our team. Okay. Now, I would request you to gain the most out of the Telegram channel that we have specific to regulatory exams, RBI Grade B, Nabard Grade A, SEBI Grade A, okay, IFSCA in fact. So this is the link. It is also there in the chat section, in the description box of the video. Okay, you can go and join this Telegram because we give you 10 MCQs to solve every day. We give you the PDFs of important sessions that we take. Okay, there is news of the day that is given, there is question of the day, there is free ebooks which are shared. Okay, and all the important announcements are made there. The other thing is we have a specific YouTube channel for our exams, RBI, Nabard, SEBI, and in the coming weeks you can find me there in the regulatory channel. Okay, so in case you want to follow me, you will have to be a subscriber of this channel. You need to at least know where I am there. Okay, so right now in the next few days you will see me taking sessions on this particular channel. So I would want you to just go and subscribe to this YouTube channel. The link is there in the description box, as well as it is there. It is being put by team in the chat as well, live chat. Fine guys, a lot of time has been taken, I guess. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a part of this session. Thank you so much for lending your time, which is very precious, obviously. So if you really liked it, benefited you, please do hit a like button there. It would be highly appreciated if you can just let me know how the session was for you, right? So thank you so much guys. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Keep studying. I know there's a lot of buzz about when the notification is going to be there. See, when it is out, you'll not even realize the time flies. Okay, so don't waste your time. You still have a good amount of time in your hands, so don't waste that. Right, so please watch the strategy session if you haven't yet. In the coming week, we'll be having multiple such sessions. You can drop in your queries if you have some demands for a particular session to be taken, a live session. You can drop it in the chat box right now. If there's something specific you want me to cater, because we do have a plan that's there for the coming week, but if there's something specific, please feel free to drop in the chat, and we'll see if we can pick it up, those particular topics that you're saying. There's one topic, how to prepare IFSC with RBI. Okay, you can maybe put that in the comments also once the session ends, so don't worry. I'll be taking your leave right now. Okay, thank you so much guys. A big thank you to all of you who are there as part of the session. Please keep reading, right? I don't want you guys to keep wasting your attempts. Any attempt is not a waste attempt, but if you're not moving in the right direction, then I would say that you're not putting in 100%. Okay, the result is not in our hands. Honestly, it is not in our hands, but the journey is in our hands, right? So please make sure you're on the right track with this journey, right? Thank you so much. Yes, RBI Bolt is a part of our course. For few of you who are asking the questions here, yes, it is a part of our course, guys. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.